So over the last few days, CD Projekt Red has seen a lot of backlash around Cyberpunk 2077, specifically for really the last generation versions of the game, the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One versions. The PS5 and the Xbox Series X seem like they play well enough. Like, they say a next-gen patch is coming next year, and right now it looks like, as an example, the PS5 is using the PS4 Pro version of the game, but at an uncapped frame rate that appears to be mostly 60 frames per second throughout, with dips when you're like driving around and stuff, but like it's completely fine for the most part. And I look forward to the patch for the PS5. Maybe they'll do something where they have a 4K and they use those adaptive triggers and stuff, so we'll see there. But remember, this game was supposed to come out in April, well before these next-gen systems were out, which means this was going to be the version we were going to get alongside of the PC version. And now it does look like people are taking to Metacritic to review bomb the game, specifically really on the Xbox One and the PS4 version. We're going to look at that here today. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave Plus channel, make sure you subscribe down below. So there is more and more information and news coming out about how CD Projekt Red kind of approached bonuses and stuff for their employees. I'm going to go over a lot of this stuff in Newswave on Monday because more stuff is continuing to come out. But it appeared they were actually tying bonuses to Metacritic scores. Yes, specifically from publications and websites and stuff, not like user scores. But we do see at times review bombing when there's something with the game that does not go over well with gamers. Sometimes it's kind of dumb. Sometimes it's like, oh, this game is only on one platform. Yeah, it's because the company, like say Nintendo or Sony or whoever, paid to have it published as an example, or paid to help development, or yes, in some instances, timed exclusivity, but we at least understand why it's there and the strategy involved. It's not that the game doesn't necessarily, doesn't play well. It's just you can't get it maybe because you don't have the right system. But in this case, it looks like people are review bombing because of the poor performance. And I noticed a lot of this really started to pick up steam when Digital Foundry posted their findings, their video on the PlayStation 4 version. It's pretty ugly. Like, we're talking like frame rates in the teens for this game. And you could say it's unplayable for the most part across the board with these last generation systems. And the Xbox One version is pretty bad too. There has been some analysis on it, and it's like everything's very blurry looking and the frame rate tanks there too. So I'll be curious what Digital Foundry finds for that one. But let's go over here. We're going to start with the PC version on Metacritic, because for the most part, the PC version is the one to get right now. If you have I would say good enough rig to play the game, because you can play around with the settings yourself if you want that high frame rate, or if you want a better looking game at a lower frame rate. We don't necessarily have that optional like the PS5. The Xbox Series X does have a performance or quality mode, but it only goes so far. Like, you can't go in there and turn off certain things. You can't change the resolution of the shadows, as an example, or the quality there. So the PC version appears to be the one that a lot of people are picking up. And you know what? The user score for that actually isn't too bad. It's 6.5. Look, there are a lot of bugs in the game. We understand that. That's the way it is right now with Cyberpunk. And hopefully CD Projekt Red continues to put out more and more patches. They just put out a very large one that seemed to fix a lot of quest bugs. I downloaded it on the PS5 and it was 16 gigabytes. We've had as many, in terms of size, we've had as much in patches as we've had the entire game now already. But you can see 2,000 positive reviews, 286 mixed, and 1,567 negative scores. And some of them are like, okay, like this one, I'm giving it 10 out of 10 only because I can't give it a 20 out of 10. And then some, actually, what's interesting on the PC side, are coming over and talking about the PlayStation version. Like this, I play this game on PS5. They go on to say there's a lot of bugs and stuff like that. And yes, on the PS5, there are a lot of bugs. I've had the PS5 version crash a few times on me. I've had weapons floating in the air, but like the one with the weapons floating in the air is not really harming my experience. But when the game crashes and I have to go back 10 or 15 minutes during my gameplay to then redo parts of that, because that was where my last checkpoint was, like that's pretty annoying for me. Over here on the PS4 version of the game, we can see a 2.5 on the user score. That I think is the lowest one right now with the Xbox One, I believe just above 3. And we've actually seen some reviews start to come in, and that's probably why CD Projekt Red had to backpedal on the idea of tying bonuses for developers who, I gotta say, the developers, I'm sure they worked really hard on this game, and I look at this more as management failure based on how many delays there were and the inability to kind of reel in some of their ideas and say, look, this is what we can actually get done with a correct amount of polish involved for release day. If these games came out in April when it was supposed to on these platforms, this would have been what like everyone would have looked at here as the only version to get next to PC. If you were on a console, you were getting this PS4 version, and you might be in this user score of 2.5 right now. 248 positive, 84 mixed, and 1,687 negative. And look, we have our first review here from juxvideo.com. I did my best, and they gave it a 35, and a lot of it has to do with the visuals, the performance, and just the overall bugs, glitches, and crashing. And this, to me, brings up an interesting question. Could you effectively leave a 0 on a user review score for a game and it be correct if the game doesn't work? Like, let's say you're playing on the PS4 and the game just crashes consistently. You're not able to really even play the game. I mean, the game is there, but then is a 0 actually justified? You let me know about that, because you know what? I'm not against just being like, well, no, obviously it's more than a 0. Is it if the game doesn't work, though, for some of these people in these situations? And then we have the Xbox One version, a 3.1 user score. Here's something fun, though. We have 2 reviews for this now. I believe if there are 4, I think they put a score up next to the game. And right now, we have a 68 and that 35 that we had before. This one's from GamePro Germany, giving it a 68. And again, a lot of it seems to come down to how the performance is on the platform, which tells me this might seriously end up with a score in the 50s on last generation hardware. I mean, think about that. Cyberpunk 2077, this massive game that we've been waiting the entire generation. The generation we've been waiting through for this game is the one that would get a 50 or so on Metacritic. It really makes you wonder about the rumor that they were having a hard time with the Xbox One and the PS4 versions that was shot down by the head of CD Projekt Red, and just how quiet they were on these console versions, with the PS4 and the Xbox One having basically no footage at all and being completely silent from CD Projekt Red as to how they were going exactly. I've got to say, it's interesting to see where we saw like Bethesda's fall from grace, and now CD Projekt Red's kind of going through that right now with Cyberpunk. I feel like a lot of people want to like this game, but like it's kind of tough to like the game if you can't play it necessarily. And there are a lot of people right now who can't even find a PS5 or an Xbox Series X that would at least allow them to play a competent version of this game, because on the PS5, I'm playing this and it runs well enough. Like, I don't get any of this kind of stuff, just the funny bug and glitch here and there and some crashes, but I've at least been able to play through it. If I'm going through the game and it's 16 frames per second at times and like it's completely blurry, I feel like the Xbox One version is probably dropping below 720p. I would look at that and say, I really spent $60 for this game. Do I have to now spend another $500 just to at least have a decent version of this game? And then who knows when the next gen patches are coming? It's odd to me that this is the state of Cyberpunk at launch when we've waited so long for it and it's gone through so many delays. But let me know what you guys think about this situation down below, with CD Projekt Red, Cyberpunk 2077 under fire, review bombing all over the place right now on Metacritic. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.